A moving story of a miraculous jackpot life. A radio theater. This story is a beautiful, sophisticated, and elegant tale of a family's
Intertwined
perfect
with
love, unconditional love, and miraculous melodies. But if this family's story had simply been a complex, entangled web of relationships, like those seen in soap operas, simply arousing curiosity, we wouldn't have even thought about producing it in the first place. You may be dismissive of this idea as somewhat backward, considering that on the huge global playground, called YouTube, mere fabricated stories, reminiscent of flimsy love triangle, melodramas, or ambiguous, extreme, sexy, dramatic episodes that seem to glorify adultery, are achieving huge viewership ratings. However, we have decided to find only one topic of our own and move forward. Like a turtle, one step at a time. Now, I will explain today's story in depth. In a rundown house on the outskirts of Seoul, single mother Choi Sune raised her two sons, Young-soo and Young-jae. My father passed away early, but he left behind a large legacy. Sunai raised her two sons with that money. The eldest son, Young-soo, was a free-spirited
but he tormented
his mother, Sunai, with his drinking and flirting. Young-jae, the youngest, was a diligent college student and the most trustworthy hope of his mother. Sunai went to the market every morning to shop and prepare meals for her sons. Young-soo cut down on drinking. She spoke with concern. But Young-soo responded with a smile. "Mom, don't worry, I'll be a big star." Young-jae comforted his mother as he quietly read a book. "Mom, I'll do well." Sunai smiled as she held Young-jae's hand. And another new member has joined this family. Kim Seon-hwa. She worked as Young-soo's manager, fell in love, and got married. Seon-hwa was an orphan raised by her maternal grandmother, but she was a woman with a bright personality. Her dream was to be a trot singer. But fate cast a dark cloud over this family. This story depicts a miraculous love that blossoms, overcoming betrayal and sorrow. Kim Seon-hwa was raised by her maternal grandmother. After her parents divorced when she was young, her maternal grandmother taught Seon-hwa to sing. "Seon-hwa, your voice is like starlight." Seon-hwa took those words to heart and nurtured her dream of becoming a singer. However, as he was still young and lacking in singing skills, he was led by his grandmother to various trot events and audition venues to gain field experience. His grandmother passed away from old age. In a desperate mood, he asked the office manager of his agency to take care of his food and lodging, and he ended up taking the path of a manager. The person I met that way was trot singer Young-soo. Young-soo, a rookie trot singer, was unexpectedly impressed by Sunhwa's innate singing ability when he hired her as his manager. This was what Young-soo said one day when he happened to hear humming the song "My Jewel-like love" to himself while staring at the wall in the corner of the waiting room. For a trot music program at a broadcasting station, you will become a big star. Seon-hwa was thrilled by his words. Even without that, Sunhwa was already looking forward to someone listening to her, singing and evaluating her, so Young-soo's single made her heart flutter. From that day on, the two quickly became close and eventually fell in love. In the end, the innocent and simple Seon-hwa fell into the hands of Young-soo, who was famous for his womanizing skills and ended up giving her precious virginity, which she had kept for over 20 years, to this man Young-soo, and that too in a dark corner of the stage set, which was so strangely eerie. And as if he was satisfied with something, Young-soo suggested to Seon-hwa, who had nowhere to go, that they get married right away, and told her not to worry, because he would take care of all the wedding expenses. And so he ended up getting married to the reckless Seon-hwa at lightning speed. On her wedding day, Seon-hwa wore a beautiful hanbok and smiled happier than anyone else in the world. "Young-soo, will we be happy?" I asked, a question that resonated deeply. In my heart, Young-soo nodded. "I'll protect you." But after marriage, Young-soo's true colors were revealed. This is his true nature as a womanizer, which was widely known in the music industry at the time. He came home late, drunk and hanging out with other women, One day, a woman came in with a bright red lipstick stain on her white shirt. When Seonhwa asked her husband Young-soo, "What is that lipstick?" Mark, with a skeptical look, Young-soo started yelling instead of answering. The girl who was doing housework at home kept asking me all these questions and then slammed the door
saying,
and left. "What the hell are you talking about?" Seonhwa was shocked. After that day, the same thing happened again and again. And there were even days when I didn't come home at all. Finally, Seonhwa was forced to choose between continuing this degrading married life or boldly declaring divorce and leaving. However, since her maternal grandmother who raised her had passed away, she was left with nowhere to go and was left in a situation where she could neither do this nor that. In the end, she had no choice but to rely on Young-soo to survive. It's unfortunate, but if I do better, it'll be okay. I was living my life, reminding myself that things will get better. But one day, Seonhwa's throat started to feel hoarse and she couldn't stop coughing. I received a shocking diagnosis at the hospital. It's vocal cord cancer. The doctor said with a sad expression, "Treatment is difficult and singing can be difficult." Seonhwa sat down in the hospital hallway and cried. "Is my dream over?" she wrote in her diary every night. "Why are you giving me this ordeal, Grandma?" she asked, not even having the strength to wipe away the tears streaming from her eyes. She stared at them, dripping endlessly onto her diary all night long. But Young-soo didn't comfort her. "You ruined my life." He was drunk and shouting. Seonhwa bit her lips so hard that they bled, swallowing her tears alone. I spent nights crying, wondering if this was betrayal. If this was the kind of betrayal from a man you only see in movies or dramas. Along with the pain of this betrayal, Seonhwa's vocal cord cancer shook her life to its core. The treatment was painful, and my voice became increasingly weak. Hospital bills weighed heavily on Young-soo's pockets. He criticized Seonhwa. "My family's ruined because of you." He thrust divorce papers in front of Seonhwa, saying, "What kind of singer are you when you have vocal cord cancer? Get a divorce and get out of here." Seonhwa was speechless in shock and stared blankly at her husband, Young-soo. "Young-soo Appa, you said you'd love me, even when I'm sick. When we got married, you swore in front of the officiant that you wouldn't throw away Seonhwa, didn't you?" "Yes." "Young-soo Appa," she cried, clinging to him like a little child. But Young-soo turned away coldly. Seonhwa was eventually forced to leave home due to her illness. After my maternal grandmother passed away, now I had nowhere to go. She went out into the street, carrying an old bag. The streets were swept by wind and rain. Where should I go? Seonhwa muttered to herself on the rainy street. Just then, a man runs through the pouring rain, quickly snatches Seonhwa's bag and drags her into a nearby cafe. "No, master," a thin, silky sound escaped Seonhwa's lips. Young Jae, the younger brother of Young-soo, stood there, with tears in his eyes, holding tightly the wrist of his sister-in-law, who was now a stranger to him, unable to looking at him like a frozen statue. How much time has passed like that? Without saying a word, the two people hugged each other, like they were in a movie or a novel, and burst into tears. And how much time has passed? The two sat in silence, in a small studio apartment. This series of actions was the result of Mother Sunai's loving care. Sunai said that although her son and daughter-in-law were divorced and strangers, she felt that she could not just let them go like this, so she had her youngest son, Youngji, rent a studio apartment near the hospital, where his daughter-in-law, Seonhwa, was receiving treatment. And that she wanted to live there for a while, so that she could receive treatment easily. But how much happiness could this kind of life have brought to Seonhwa? Her private life was filled with solitude. I took my medicine alone in the hospital hallway and wrote in my diary at night, even if my voice disappears. I want to protect my dream. I repeated this to myself, writing down every single day of my life, as if I were writing trot lyrics. At this hour, as always, Young Jae know. Now that he and Young Soo have become strangers, I should call him Young Jae. Anyway, Young Jae's utmost sincerity was so evident that he would call me every single day to check on me. As a young man, he was a college student living in a dormitory, so it must have been quite a task. But he was always checking on Seonhwa's condition every day. Moreover, it must have been because he was obsessed with guilt, that he had to do whatever it took and to free both his mother. As his older brother had forced his sister-in-law, who was fighting a chronic illness, into a divorce and kicked her out. He called Seonhwa every morning and evening from his college dorm. Sister-in-law, I'll help you all the way. Don't worry and just focus on getting better, okay? Sister-in-law, did you have a good trip to the hospital today? It's raining heavily, so did you bring a raincoat? Did you have a good dinner? He tried to encourage me, making sure I didn't let my mind wander for even a moment. And today, he especially showed his sense by transferring all the allowance he received from his mother, Sune, to Seonhwa's account and even giving her some words of comfort. Please don't worry about the hospital bills, sister-in-law, and I hope you get better, no matter what and when. He also showed his strong sense of motivation by saying, fighting until your wonderful trot music decorates the world beautifully. Seonhwa received this comforting phone call from Young Jae and couldn't help but burst into tears. And now I should call you Young Master. I should say Young Jae, but my mind became confused, and I fell into a vortex of pain, chills, and heartache that made my whole body shiver, with goosebumps in a love that I couldn't figure out. At that very moment, for a brief moment, I had a strange and beautiful experience. It is a fantasy that the whole world is decorated with beautiful and colorful flowers, and the pure and beautiful Seonhwa and Young Jae, like Adam and Eve, are walking hand in hand, as if walking on clouds toward the rainbow floating across the sky. And Seonhwa, waking up from that brief but beautiful fantasy, smiled faintly and said, do do yon nim, no young Jae si, and even stammered, saying, thank you, over and over again. The next day, Mrs. Suni, who was my mother-in-law, also came to the studio apartment to look for Seonhwa. She came with a smile on her face, carrying a variety of side dishes, and even herbal medicine from the Oriental Medicine Clinic, as if she were a daughter who had just been sent off to her husband's house. As for Seonhwa, I can only say that I am embarrassed and then she burst into tears, saying, Mother, Seonhwa, I'm your mother. She hugged Seonhwa. Seonhwa wept in Sune's arms. Just then, Youngji came in out of breath. After finishing his lecture at school, he saw this scene and whined, you two were filming a movie? What's the name of the movie, Mom? It is said that the one-room apartment suddenly became a sea of laughter because of that wind. And as if nothing had happened, Youngji smiled and held Seonhwa's hand, saying, Sister-in-law, how are you feeling today? Seonhwa answered in a weakened voice, Do you need no? Thanks to Young Jae, I feel like I'm getting strength, he said with a big smile. Then Young Jae said again, This is not money that my mom gave me. It's money that I earned through my part-time job. He said, You must get better, and quickly put an envelope of money in Seonhwa's hand. Then, like lightning, he kicked open the door and left. I'm going to the dorm to study for the exam. Thanks to that, the awkward atmosphere between mother-in-law and Seonhwa became more lively, as if they were real mother and daughter. Young Jae has been supporting Seonhwa, even contributing the money he earned from his part-time job to her hospital bills. One time, I played Seonhwa's favorite trot song, My Love Like a Jewel, and said, Sister-in-law, the day will come when you can sing this song again. Don't lose heart until the end. Okay, he said, showing his strength again. Seonhwa smiled and shed tears. Lady Sunny also continued to care for like a daughter. She boiled some porridge and brought it to the hospital at dawn. Seonhwa, eat this and gain strength. This time, Mrs. Sune took out her own retirement
to pay the
funds.
hospital bill.
You are our family, Seonhwa said, taking Sune's hand. Mother, I'm so sorry, Sunai said, shaking her head. It is my wish that you become healthy. Seonhwa was once again moved by Lady Sunai's sincere eyes and vowed to herself that she would definitely fight and overcome her illness. From that day on, Seonhwa hummed a song alone in her hospital room. It was to test my own voice. My jewel-like love, her voice was weak, but her dream did not fade. She wrote again in her diary, thanks to Youngjae and my mother, I must live again. I must repay this favor while I live. No, if I can't repay this favor, I must die. With that thought, I once again wrote in my diary with renewed was meeting intensity. Another woman. During this time, starting a new family and was having a rough time. He completely forgot about Seonhwa. And I spent my days dreaming of a more splendid and wonderful married life than when I lived with Seonhwa. But his temper and drinking habits did not change, but rather grew worse and became more eccentric. One day, while drunk, he got into an argument with his new wife and assaulted her. You're just as annoying as Seonhwa, he shouted. Young-soo was arrested for this incident. While in prison, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Of course, the after effects of excessive drinking caused such a terrible illness. Why is this happening to me? He muttered in his hospital room. But no one came to visit him or bring him food. Sunai shed tears when she heard the news about her son. Young-soo, why did this happen? She went to visit him in prison. Young-soo said to his mother, Mom, I was wrong. But his illness quickly worsened. In the end, Young-soo died in prison. Sunai wept at her son's death. Seonhwa also felt mixed emotions when she heard this news. I once loved someone. She quietly wiped away her tears. After that day, Mrs. Sunny's health also deteriorated rapidly. She collapsed from an underlying condition and was admitted to the hospital. This time, Seonhwa and Youngjae took care of Lady Sune's sickbed. Seonhwa, Youngjae, I'm sorry, she said in a weak voice. Seonhwa and Youngjae cried while holding Sunai's hand. Sunai said with a smile. You must rely on each other to live well, Sunai said, leaving behind only that one word. Mrs. Sunny eventually consented to the marriage of these two people, Seonhwa and Youngjae, and set off on a long journey. Seonhwa and Youngjae embraced each other warmly at their mother's funeral. And at that moment, Seonhwa felt a hot flame rising in her chest. I have to live. I must live. This is a gift from heaven, she exclaimed, burying her face in Youngjae's chest and shedding tears. She buried her face in the chest of Youngjae, who was 3 years younger than her, and now officially recognized as her husband by her late mother-in-law. She cried and cried. And when I went to the tomb, where Lady Sunny's portrait was buried, I stood there, not noticing the passage of time, and silently giving thanks to heaven with an even stronger vow. And again I swore again. This is love. This is true love. I guess I was born into this world to receive this kind of love as a gift, Grandma. Please save Seonhwa. I cried and cried, saying, please let me cherish this jewel-like love until the day I die. And he slowly raised his head and tried to bring his lips to Youngjae's, but he was too tall and couldn't reach Youngjae's lips. Young Youngjae, as if embarrassed, slowly lowered his head and gently touched his lips to those of his sister-in-law, Seonhwa, who would become his wife. But the husband, who was a complete novice in the world, didn't know how to kiss and just stood there blankly, with his lips pressed against his. But Seonhwa, who had been married once, quickly took the lead and cupped young Jay's face with both hands and was about to kiss him hard, when a scream came out of nowhere. "What was that? What the hell are you guys doing standing there? You've come all the way to the sacred cemetery of another man," shouted an old man. Because of that, Seonhwa and young Jay's dream of creating a wonderful kiss scene was temporarily shattered, and they were left with awkward and shy expressions. Grandpa smiled broadly and said, "I'm sorry. I guess my voice was too loud, and I'm sorry for ruining the mood. I'll tell you a very secret and romantic place, so go there and relieve your remaining worries. I see that new white motel down the hill. Over there." He said something and then disappeared in an instant. "Well, what is it?" For a moment, the two people stood there, their faces facing each other, as if they had lost their minds, staring blankly at the sky, from which the old man had vanished without a trace. According to what I heard later, there was only a rumor going around that, at that moment, young Jay's grandfather in heaven gave him a revelation and then disappeared. Anyway, the sun was setting, and the sunset was starting to fade, so they couldn't reserve train tickets anyway. It would be difficult to buy a train ticket from Seosan to Seoul at that time, so they had no choice but to spend the night there. So, without saying a word, the two of them slowly started to descend the hill. After walking down for a while, I came into view of the beautiful, newly built white motel that the old man had just told me about. Wow, that's cool. This motel is built like a dragon palace, isn't it? Young Jay exclaimed with a childlike, delighted expression. Then, not knowing what to do, I just looked around blankly and watched Seonhwa's expression. So why did Seonhwa grab Young Jay's hand and pull him into her armpit, pointing to the motel with her chin, and signaling for him to take her inside? In your heart, you must have laughed and thought, mugwort like this one. In the end, I succeeded in taking my husband, a pure and innocent young man who was still new to dating and had not yet shed his label, to a motel. No, now he is a pure and clean bachelor who has been acknowledged as such. From that day on, Seonhwa's condition miraculously improved. The doctor said in surprise, "This is a miracle. It's the first miracle I've seen in 40 years of medical practice. Although I am a doctor, I can only say that it is a miracle when an incurable disease is cured." However, I congratulated Seonhwa on her discharge more enthusiastically than anyone else, even asking if there was an event or action that could have caused a great change in the patient's mind and released the intense endorphins of love. The kind and gentle Seonhwa confessed without hesitation that she had a new, beautiful, and jewel-like love. Then, the doctor said, as if he had been waiting, that's how it was. And somehow, the facial expression brightened, and the skin troubles disappeared. As expected, what our senior doctor said was not wrong at all. When treating women, they say that those who receive a lot of love from men recover from illnesses faster. That's the dopamine benefit of love, he said, concluding his patient consultation. Seonhwa left the hospital with a relieved and liberated mind. After completing her final physical examination, she visited her mother's grave again with young Jay. This time, I wanted to let you know that I have been freed from a terrible disease. I keep this noble thought in mind, hoping that my mother-in-law in heaven will rest in peace. Mother, I'm alive. She shed tears of gratitude again at the grave. Young Jay said while hugging Seonhwa. Sister-in-law, no, Seonhwa, this is a new beginning. Then Seonhwa also leaned her face gently against Young Jay's chest and said, Master, no, I'm Young Jay, he said with a shy smile. And then, without saying a word, we headed back to the motel, where we spent that first night together. This time, we went to that motel that looked like a dragon palace, using a comical and bizarre excuse. As a part of a trip to celebrate escaping from illness, and they were practicing their own kind of love. even praising themselves for such actions as a sacred battle between soul and body, based on the noble ideal of practicing complete love. Especially for Youngjae, who is majoring in behavioral psychology in college, this kind of love practice was a beautiful play that blossomed on a completely different level of ethics and moral foundation from other people who waste precious energy on superficial physical pleasures. By meeting random people, their love was so deep and desperate that it could not have been anything other than a love. And Seonhwa started singing again. I sang Trot on a small stage. My jewel-like love. Her voice wasn't as clear as before, but it conveyed deep emotion. The audience applauded and shed tears. Youngjae smiled off stage. Sister-in-law, no, Seonhwa, you're awesome, Seonhwa said, looking at Youngjae on stage. Youngjae, it's all thanks to you. Seonhwa auditioned again. At a local broadcasting station, she put her story into song. I overcame the pain and stood up again. Her singing struck a chord with senior audiences. Seonhwa won a small trot competition. She said as she received the award, "This award is dedicated to my mother and Youngjae." And the following year, Seonhwa won the grand prize at the National Trot Competition. On stage, she held the award and shed tears. I dedicate this award to the love that saved my life. Youngjae cried and applauded in the audience. Sister-in-law, no, Seonhwa, you did a great job. The two embraced passionately on stage. Senior fans cheered and shouted, Seonhwa, you're the best. Seonhwa and Youngjae looked into each other's eyes. Seonhwa said, Youngjae, you're my family. My family forever, Youngjae replied with a smile. Seonhwa, we were each other's strength. Their love was an unconditional devotion that transcended blood ties. Seonhwa's song was a miraculous melody, filled with their pain and hope. The audience applauded and wiped away tears. Seonhwa and Youngjae became a family closer than blood, with no desire for mutual benefit. Seonhwa's song brought hope to senior fans across the country. Her voice was a testament to her miraculous victory over vocal cord cancer. Youngjae stayed by Seonhwa's side and protected her. Their love was the most beautiful melody that blossomed over betrayal and sorrow. This story asks us, what is true love? Even if we aren't blood-related, the heart that dedicates itself to one another creates miracles. And that love will create another miracle. Thank you for listening for such a long time. If you felt a miraculous melody resonating deep within your heart while listening to today's story, please subscribe and like. Please click and leave many comments praising Seonhwa and Youngjae's unconditional love. We promise to return with even more touching and beautiful stories. A touching story of a miraculous, successful life, radio theater. We assure you that today's story has absolutely nothing to do with the scandal surrounding a singer who once shocked the world. We promise to continue to do our best to support seniors. See you next time. Rest well.